following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
Hello and welcome to the Sci-Fi Update. I'm your host, Tony Harper, and I have in studio with me today your favorite guest, Dave Clark.
Captain Tangent.
My previous guest I had set up for today had to bail for me last minute. Dave graciously accepted to come onto the show.
It's like
and
my
I
wife, I'm
appreciate
the
it.
second choice. No, I'm my wife's second choice, not the other way around. She's way too good for me.
All right.
Tangent right at the beginning.
This is the way it's going to go again. I love it. All right. So we'll start off with the news as usual. The Boys Season 3 premieres on Amazon Prime June 3rd.
Yes.
I can't wait for this season. I'm excited for this. Hopefully everything works out.
Have you read the comic books?
I have not read the comic books.
It is so good. It is one of the few. It's one of those few. It's like Watchmen. Or it's one of the few where I love both the comic book and the show, and I don't care about the difference.
Okay. I get that. Yeah, no, I haven't read the comic book yet. I kind of want to, though.
Do it. It's a relatively short series.
All right. Where do I get it from?
Comixology.
Comixology.
If you have subscription through Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon bought Comixology a couple of years ago, so now your Amazon Prime subscription works with it. So it's a bunch of free comic books, like hundreds of free comic books, and fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds great. Epix announced the second season for their horror sci-fi series called From. I haven't started watching this yet. I don't know.
I've never even heard of it. I feel kind of naughty.
Yeah, it's something I would kind of want to get into. There wasn't a lot in the article about it. Yeah, sorry. I can't remember. I wrote this down at the beginning of the week, and I don't remember much about it. You're more than fine to have your phone
No, I
out on
just
the
realized I
table or
didn't
whatever.
silence them.
Oh, all right. That's fine. Sony has pushed back the release of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse sequel. It was originally scheduled to release on October 7th of this year. It will now be June 2nd of 2023.
Okay, I'm still good with that.
John Watts is no longer directing the Fantastic Four. He directed the last three Spider-Man movies and needs to take a break.
Or does not want his name attached
To Fantastic Four.
Fantastic flop.
A horrible, yeah. What's going on with Fantastic Four? Why can they not get a great movie out of it? Seems like a good comic book series. Seems like it would be very plausible to get a good story out of it.
It's a fantastic comic book series, but I think on paper it's a lot easier to mesh those four specific powers versus on camera. It's hard to do invisibility on camera without just being silly sight gags. It's hard to do super strength right next to super stretchy because super stretchy also has to have silly sight gags. Like, hey, I'm going to reach over there and flush the toilet kind of thing. They always do that silly stuff. They never make it serious.
Interesting.
Even in the comic books, I mean, a lot of Mr. Fantastic's powers are I turn into a rubber ball or I turn into a trampoline. The story has to be built around what he can do to make it useful.
Right.
I don't know. I think, oddly, Pixar did a better job with The Impossibles.
So could we make it an animated thing instead of a live action?
I'd be down with that. Good voice acting and a good script. I'll watch a cartoon all day long.
Speaking about live action, because I didn't want to put this in there, Ray Thomas was scheduled to direct the live action Robotech movie. I was so excited for this project until I found out that Thomas got involved, and he was the guy that did Hawkeye.
Oh, sorry.
So my hopes have been cut a bit in half now because of that. I really wanted to see a good live action Robotech. Most of the problem why they haven't come out with it in like 40-something years.
Long
Is the
time.
licensing deal with anime studios and all that kind of stuff, and the difficulty with Japan's copyright laws and all that kind of stuff. They finally cleared all those hurdles last year around April, but, you know, I don't know. Let's hope that
I'm looking forward to it whenever it manages to come out.
Comets can do something with it and do it a little better than Hawkeye, because I'm
I'm
not
gonna,
as excited as I was.
I don't know. I'm gonna go become immortal just so I can make sure I actually see it.
All right.
There's a little Morbius
Space
joke
Force is canceled after season 2.
there. Isn't that disappointing? That was such a
Netflix
fun
seems to be
show.
cutting back on all fronts, and I'm wondering if this spells the demise of Netflix.
Well, they just lost 200,000 users
Or more.
distinct users, as they put it, which means that's 200,000 canceled subscriptions, so 600,000 actual eyeballs.
Yeah,
And they
or more, because those that sharing the
Well,
accounts and all that kind
that's
of
why
stuff.
600,000.
Yeah,
I loved Space Force though. I really didn't think I was gonna like it. I watched that first episode and I'm like, all right, episode 2, let's do this.
it was all right. I'm not a big fan of Steve Carell's comedy.
Carell, yeah, but he's not
very much, and he doesn't do too much of it in like his typical comedy in this. I'll give you that. I've been on the fence with it. I only got halfway through season 1.
It's the deadpan of Lisa Kudrow, who I never have been a fan of before, like Friends, which I'm pretty sure that's the only thing I've ever seen her in. I was never a fan of Phoebe,
Right.
but her deadpan in that show is just it makes me giggle. And the John Malkovich plays the professor.
I believe so, yeah.
Just awesome. Just awesome. I agree. Steve Carell is not my favorite.
Yeah, no. I gotta have it looking at the screen,
Oh,
too.
sorry, I keep meaning to. There we go. Look at. I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah, I'm looking at you now on the screen.
No, Steve Carell's never been my favorite because he relies too much on his face for funny.
Right.
It's kind of like Jim Carrey relies on his face for funny and physical comedy, which has its place.
Right.
Like especially The Mask. Love that movie. But I think Steve Carell just doesn't pull it off as well as Jim Carrey used to.
I'm with you. I don't think he does pull it off as well. All right. John Stamos to voice Tony Stark / Iron Man in Disney Junior's new cartoon, Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
All right, I can see that. He sounds a little bit like Robert Downey Jr. and has that gravitas, I guess it would be.
All right.
Or
I mean, it was
gravitas
just
isn't the right word.
I was stretching for some news this week because there isn't a whole lot out there.
The loss of all the Netflix shows that's pretty newsworthy. I looked at that list and they cut some good stuff.
Yeah, they've cut a lot of good stuff recently, and it's just boggling my mind. And the final thing, and this leads us into kind of our thing on here, Star Wars games have gone on sale this week. You can get them at huge discounts this week through a lot of different vendors. There was a combo pack for $40. You can get the Star Wars Rebel Squadron, Battlefront 2, and something else like $40. Oh, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 you can get for like $1.
Yeah, I know.
That didn't go well.
I liked Battlefront 2, sort of.
It was all right, but it was only just all right. You dropped a lot of frame rate because they were trying to push too much stuff. It was all right. The Jedi Fallen Order is the Dark Souls of Star Wars, and it makes me want to beat my head against a wall.
Yeah, I played through the demo on it, and I decided it was going to be fairly difficult, and I just didn't want to keep repeating sections over and
Difficult
over
is
again.
an understatement. There is a
over
section.
and over again.
I love Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tried Elden Ring yet because I
Dark
haven't gotten rid of that hate and discontent in my tummy. But there's a section in Fallen Order where you have to climb across a wall,
Yep.
hop up, and then kill a Rancor who shouldn't even be there, and it's just brutal.
It is. It
took me
was.
probably 20 times to get it, and by the time I was done, I finally finished it. I'm like, all right, controller, you go over there so you don't go over there in a garbage can. But have you tried the Star Wars or the Skywalker Saga, or whatever they're calling
I
it?
haven't
for Lego?
yet. I only bought Tiny
Tiny Tina's.
Yes.
Wonderlands.
Recently. It was a choice between that or Star Wars.
We did discuss this, didn't we?
Yeah, we did discuss
Oh,
this.
my Alzheimer's just gets worse.
Outside of, I don't think we discussed it on the podcast, but
I'm having a great time with it.
it's high reviews. I mean, a lot of people are downloading. It's one of the highest downloaded in games. I mean, I talked about it in my news for last episode. So, I'm excited to get it. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
I think my only real complaint about it, and it's really not even a complaint, is I've played like the Phantom Menace and all that, and the original Traveler's Tales Star Wars games
Right.
a couple of years ago when they came out. So when I hop into this new one, I'm like, well, this story should be just as long, and it just can't be. It's just not reasonable to expect them to do that. Then I get a little disappointed that it's kind of short in that one section, and then the next section, and each one of them's not 20 hours long like the originals were.
Right.
And I understand that mentally, but emotionally, I'm like, oh, well, you could have been a little longer. I don't know.
All right, so our episode this week is going to be based on May the 4th. So, May 4th be with you.
And fourth movie, are you gonna put a little graphic up in the back for that?
We'll see.
You totally got to.
I'll put something up.
May the
I'll figure out
fourth be with you. Little
Uh,
Obi-Wan walks across. Yoda shuffling, and then pinballs all over the place. Phantom Menace.
So, we were going to discuss debatable topics on Star Wars this week. For instance, who shot first, Han Solo or Guido?
Greedo.
Greedo.
You're going to want to edit that out?
Yeah, Greedo.
Greedo is a
enunciate-
derogatory Italian term.
Damn it. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, well, we're not going to edit it out. We'll just leave that in there, but that's all right.
That's awesome. So who do you think? Who do you think it was? Do you think it was Han or Greedo, or do you even care?
I really got to do something about this dyslexia that's in my speech center, but that's okay. I think it was Han that shot first.
Who do you want to have shot first?
Greedo.
I think Han shot first, and I want Han to have shot first.
Why?
Because his is a hero arc that is, I was bad, now I'm good. So you got to have a start point of bad, right?
Okay.
I mean, you got to show the redemption. And if there's nothing to redeem other than, oh, I smuggled some stuff, but I shot this dude in semi-cold blood. I mean, I was pretty sure he was going to shoot me, but it's still basically cold blood. And then he gets that huge redemption story all the way across to the point, spoilers if you haven't seen the movies, I don't know why you're watching if you haven't, where his own son, I think he threw himself on the saber. I think he actually ignited the saber himself, not Kylo. But that's a different one. That arc is complete at that point, from the maximum evil to the maximum good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he actually did do the saber himself for that show. It went right along with the story.
I think it did. I think he was like, this is my son. There's only one way to redeem him, to show him that the world does care about him.
Right.
Which, I mean, try not to raise a little hipster next time.
So, the next topic we can talk about quickly is Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm trying to pull up my...
that's a tough one. That is a tough one. I love the ideal of Star Trek.
Pick one, and I'll be the opposite one.
Okay. Oh, I gotta go Star Trek then.
Oh, you're gonna make me defend Star Wars. I thought I was gonna go the other way.
You said pick. I'd have gone the other way.
All right. So why is Star Trek better than Star Wars?
Because again, I like that utopian feel that we are a federation, some might say,
Right.
of planets who have everyone's best interests at heart, but the reality is we're still pretty sneaky and evil in the background, making sure everything works for the good of the people.
Really, I didn't see that in most of the original Star Trek. I think the newer Star Trek adds some of that in there. And the original Trek, unlike the original Star Wars, I thought it was just too utopian. There wasn't enough realism. There wasn't enough live body decision making going on. Unlike Star Wars, which is a complete story,
I agree.
has all those elements in there. It's not taken away from the human factors. It's not taken away from basically people being people.
Yeah, the humanity. And I think that's what you're
Yeah.
you're going for, and that's why I think it's kind of like Batman. So you got the '60s Batman, and then they darkened it up, and we're not going to go back over the lighting. They darkened it up throughout the years to the point where it's at now, where there is. I think the Batman, whichever one it was, with Bane in it. Though not my favorite Batman movie, it was probably the closest to a human story that there was.
All right.
Bane climbed out of the cesspool, the pit, literally and physically, to raise himself up. And again, it's kind of like the Han thing. You got to have that level of bad to good, but in his case, it's good to bad.
Right.
And I think that's what they did with Star Trek with these new series. Not 100% sure I really like them so much. I'm still an Enterprise guy, but
I think some of that was they're being too gritty and too
far too fast.
yes,
Too far too fast. You got to ease me in. If you're gonna pour grit in my underwear, start off with some sugar, then move to the sand. That is a military joke for anyone who is in the Navy or the Marines. They will totally understand that one.
All right.
So now you got to defend Star Wars better.
Well, like I said, on top of that humanity thing, I think Star Wars did a much better job of storytelling overall. Like they have a beginning point, they have a middle point, and they have an end point in the end of their each segment. Unlike each episode in Star Wars, which kind of glosses over certain things.
Now, Star Trek definitely has that serialized nature, but then I mean, they're doing series versus movies,
Right.
Because I mean, let's face it, every other movie in Star Trek is absolute garbage. Space Whales.
I like Space Whales. I liked 4. Everyone shits on 4. I liked 4. That's why I'm surprised you took the
I love Khan.
Star Trek.
Khan was my favorite bad guy for that. But that may be just because I watched Fantasy Island as a kid.
All right.
Ricardo Montalban was my favorite. And those are his real abs. I had no idea those are his real abs. My friend Catherine actually has a pair of genuine Spock ears from the TV show.
Nice.
And she's gone to a lot of Star Trek conventions, and I had no idea that those were real abs. I mean, you look at them; they look rubber, but apparently that's his real body. Way to go, because he was like 60-something when he did that movie.
And it's a lot of work to get to that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't do the same Buddha rub. But all right. Well, I mean, I think that Star Wars also did a little bit better with their sci-fi travel than Star Trek did.
Really? Okay.
I think that hyperspace is a little bit more realistic than warp drive.
The hyperspace is literally, and I just looked this up. I'm not going to claim that I knew this before an hour ago today. That hyperspace is moving to a second dimension or fifth dimension or
Correct.
12th dimension or whatever. And for some reason, that space is closer together
Yes.
versus folding space and moving through, creating a warp bubble and moving through space because
On a
space
wave
actually
type
squishes.
of thing.
Yeah. As far as hard science goes, I don't know which one would be closer. Multiple universe theory is, the multiverse theory, use Marvel's words, is a theory that is plausible, I guess. I'm not a physicist.
It's plausible. They more or less defined at least 11 dimensions, and the mass supports 11 dimensions.
And the
easily.
12th dimension is where I get my correct size shorts at the big and tall shop.
Okay.
Can't make jokes about other people. Don't make jokes about yourself.
All right. But Star Wars might have done a little bit of something wrong with hyperspace when
Okay.
it comes to real science. So, unlike the Star Trek where you have that red shifting and all that kind of stuff, the stars, so hyperspace, it kind of did star streaks, right?
Yeah.
But real science behind it would create what they call a glow. What was the article I was reading here not too long ago on my computer? Give me a second. Click on it if I can find my mouse. Where did my mouse go?
No, I'm going to say the obvious. It's in your hand, but I don't know where the mouse pointer went.
There it is. Where was this one here? I know it's just on it.
Are the viewers viewing what you got up right now?
No, the viewers won't be viewing what I got up right now, but I can add a quick screenshot on there to see that because I'd have to record from my computer as well. I might be able to add a feed in. Let me check something real quick. Can I add another feed in? No, not with Logitech. It only has the 2 feeds.
Oh, I get it now.
What was I talking about?
For a guy who's built computers for almost 30 years, not catching the LOGI on the cameras and the app, Logitech. I was like, Logi. Never heard of Logi. It's a good thing I'm pretty because I sure tell ain't smart.
Right? They called it a subspace glow instead of actual star streaks, and I'm now trying to find the freaking article again, and I can't find
What I
it.
find interesting is in hyperspace technology, according to Canon, they didn't actually, the original Galactic Republic didn't know much about it, even though they used it, which is not uncommon.
Correct.
But they had to have faster than light travel first. Because you have to hit faster than light travel before you can enter hyperspace. I had no idea that that's how they did it. Again, an hour ago I looked it up.
Say that again. I mean, like,
Yeah. I used the amazingly great website Wikipedia.
right.
I joke. It is a really good website. I just love the name. I mean, that's the best name for a website. So in order to enter into hyperspace, you have to hit faster than light first. But they don't say how much into faster than light. Like, do you
And
gotta
how
go,
do you hit faster than light?
really fast?
Thank you, sir.
Hey.
Thank
They
you,
didn't
sir.
say. They said that you had to be equipped with a basically an FLT drive first, and then you had to have the hyperdrive
Hyperdrive on top
attached
of
to
it.
that, and then you could eject the hyperdrive if something went wrong, and you'd fall out of hyperspace,
But you'd still be at FTL.
presumably. But that comes into one of my questions on here. So, Kyle Hill, or you know who Kyle Hill is, right? He used to do.
Really?
He does the facility now.
Okay.
He's a science communicator.
Okay.
Pretty big name. Fantastic hair. There you go, Kyle. Just for you. We've never met. We don't know each other.
Dave has got fantastic hair today. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. The homeless hair. It's been a long day. So he did the math, and basically something a couple of particles of mass size.
Right.
So let's take hydrogen. It's mass. Moving at light speed would cause a detonation that would tear a starship into a gazillion little tiny pieces. Let alone when they rammed the Radis into the Supremacy, where it was like, oh, we'll just break it. No, but that comes to my first one.
Okay.
Does hyperspace have an atmosphere?
Interesting. I would generally say no.
Here's my reasoning for that. So, for those of us that screamed bloody murder about why does your starship need more fuel to go at the same speed in space, basically a vacuum, no resistance, running out of fuel shouldn't matter. It should just keep going at the same speed. We're running out of fuel. We're slowing down. Why are you slowing down? We don't know. But they're in hyperspace at that point.
Okay.
So now in our space, in real space,
I don't know how it would work in hyperspace, but as far as like Star Trek does in real space, when you collapse that warp bubble because you have no more
Right, you
power
slow
to
down.
do it, but you also have that inertia's got to go somewhere.
right?
So you end up pancaking if you don't slowly reverse the warp on it. So if you start running out of power or running out of juice, you have to slow down.
Depending on what year. Quite a lot of times you warp bubble has collapsed and they're like, oh, we just fell out and here we stopped. But for the ship to slow down, are they trying to say in the movie at that point that if they run out of fuel, they'll drop out of hyperspace, which is what they really should have said? Because according to canon, if you lose your hyperdrive for whatever reason, you drop out of hyperspace into real space. And then you'd be going at
It would all depend upon how hyperspace would work. Now, and then again, that has to do with the atmosphere and hyperspace.
Is there an atmosphere?
Is it necessary to have us have atmosphere in hyperspace?
Well,
are we even going to notice time passing in hyperspace, even though we're crossing this distance?
Well, that's kind of the question. If everything in hyperspace is just a mass shadow, as they refer to it as,
okay.
So an asteroid in real space has mass, speed, mass, velocity, all that kind of good stuff, gravity, and then you have a shadow in hyperspace where it still has mass,
right?
Which is why you need a hyperspace lane, because the hyperspace lane is just how do we wiggle in between all these mass shadows. Does that mean that what causes, if they ran out of fuel and they didn't drop out of hyperspace, what would cause them to slow down? Would it be the gravity on the asteroid next to it pulling it, or I don't know. I think it was something that the writers came up with and didn't pass that to the science guys first. But it did leave a good debate for everybody else.
It definitely does. I could see it work in a couple of different ways there. I could see, again, you lose power, so therefore you drop out of the hyperspace. All right.
And again, that's what I think
and
they
that
should
would
have said.
Slow you down. I'm with you. I think you would either drop out of hyperspace or, again, you have that same thing as the warp drive. You have to have something to protect yourself so you can breathe in hyperspace. If you don't have a hyperspace bubble around you, within a bubble type of thing, you could die or splat or have that inertia effects take over.
I think inertia is the biggest problem. I mean, you're moving at 2 times the speed of light, and then all of a sudden you're not. Yeah.
And the other thing is if something's moving faster than light, the predictions go that subatomically they'll heat up.
Okay.
Regardless, from the article I was reading this morning that I can't freaking find, and hopefully I'll find for you guys to pop onto the show later on for you. And that heat may end up being a problem right now because they're trying to do experiments with stuff traveling faster than light somehow and making it heat up and absorb, or looking at the reaction after it traveled faster than light type of thing. They were trying to force it into happening. It sounded very interesting. I just didn't know how they were going about it. Didn't make a lot of sense to me.
I failed physics twice.
I partied my way out of Clemson for engineering, so I feel you there. Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. I was trying to figure it out. I get how basically while you're traveling faster than light, the particles heat up because of just random interactions with another particle at that speed.
Okay.
Okay. So it's more likely to
like super
happen.
friction?
Yeah, it's more likely to happen while you're going at those speeds. To have it happen in normal time where we can observe it, they were talking about a time scale larger than the length of the universe, the time scale since the creation of the universe. Longer than that, by like 4-fold. To see it just naturally happen once.
So it's like waiting in line at the DMV.
Yeah, it's definitely like waiting in line at the DMV. So I like I said, I didn't really fully understand the article all the way, and like I said, hopefully I'll find it and I'll pull it up for you guys, pop it up on the
In
screen
defense
here.
of Star Trek. The
I planned to go the other way around with this one. That was not as prepared to defend Star Wars.
So that is one of the things I do like about the hard science, science in science fiction in Star Trek, is they physically have a deflector dish.
Yes.
A device to project a energy field forward of the ship in order to keep micrometeorites from just ripping through at light speed and
Semi-light speed at anything at high high speed.
Like, hey, what happened to Data? I don't know. He's got this weird hole through him, and he's twitching on the wall back there. Oh, someone didn't turn a deflector dish on. Oh, that'd be a tough job.
Didn't it fail on one of the ships and they still went into the faster than light travel or something like
sure.
that at one point in time? I mean,
all these shows never actually adhere to
follow
their own
their
canon.
Canon, yeah. So the next Star Wars debatable thing, midi-chlorians.
Oh, yeah, that's right on mine. Except mine came out midi-Florians. For or against?
I liked initially when they did it, and I was initially starting with episode 1, and I was trying to give it a shot. I'm like, all right, I can see that it has something to do with the mitochondrite in our body. You know, the organelle that nobody fully understands how it works in your cells or anything else like that. Where it actually came from, it was like our cells had decided to eat another cell and it still survived inside of our cells somehow, type of thing. And that's basically how the science figures out, and it's really the energy house of the entire body. Could it have another possible use?
I like the concept of they took something that is basically universal.
Right.
And that's the only cell that's passed through an entire chain. So from mom to kid down,
Plant,
all the dad
animal,
cells can just go away. They don't really care
most
about that.
bacteria.
Yep. And I wanted to hold on to that because instead of space wizards, then they were space science. Because instead of being just magic powers, it was I was in tune. Think of it like being in water. Yeah, think of it like being in water. If I push my hand this way, that water in front of me pushes across, and I could move those books if I pushed a column of water nice and hard.
Right.
And that would explain.
Column of air like you get in anime and all kinds of stuff.
So and then those midi-chlorians are just super, super tiny, and they fill up the entirety of the universe. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. And so if that stormtrooper over there manages to make that one shot in a million where they're actually going to hit something other than the dirt, I could then feel that column of midi-chlorians pushing out of the way as that blaster bolt comes, so I know where it's coming so I can block it with my saber. No longer space wizards.
Right.
Now just a natural thing. But where'd midi-chlorians go all of a sudden?
Yeah, they really kind of dropped out of trying to use that as the basis to describe stuff. I think because the science behind it kind of went, yeah, like that's no way it would work.
I did read an interesting article about why Luke doesn't jump like Anakin. Why all the current, we'll say, from A New Hope onto till the Skywalker series there, why they didn't do fancy flips and jumps and all that, and it was because they lost all that information, and there was no one to teach, no one to spread it out. How do I do this? Well, you got to tap into the Force.
I mean, after Order 66 and they killed all the kids, there's nobody else who spread it around.
Right. And then eventually...
Didn't Luke learn from Yoda?
Well, did you see Yoda jumping around at that point? He was too old.
He still jumped around. That's how he got on top of Luke's shoulders or on top of his
It
head.
was more of
No, he did some jumping too.
But there wasn't very much.
No, there
It was
wasn't.
nothing like Qui-Gon and Anakin, or Qui-Gon and Qui-Gon and Anakin, or no, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Sorry,
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan and Anakin. There was nothing like that until you come all the way back up to the last two movies.
Okay.
And I think that's because at that point Luke had set up a school and had time to read the holocrons and had time to read the books, had time to start teaching. Then again,
the bad addition to the Book of Boba Fett or whatever they added in on there. Yeah, all right.
Not a huge fan of the Boba Fett one. Gotta say, I love the last 3 episodes, but that's because they were basically all about. Sorry, that's my glasses.
That's fine.
they weren't Boba Fett at that point.
Right.
I really, really, really wanted to love that show. I did, and it wasn't.
I
there
think
for me.
Disney took it and made it too Disney. I really do.
I think it's like the Han Solo who shot first thing. Again, that arc of going from good to or evil to good is just not there. It's gone from evil to lukewarm.
Yeah, it's not.
He's nothing but tepid bathwater.
All right. The next thing that most people like to debate is Ewoks, and basically how they would actually survive and how could they be so smart and communicate and all that kind of stuff in those little furry teddy bear bodies.
My real question is, what does one taste like?
Ote.
Well, they're carnivores.
They are.
They're furry. That sounds to me like a tasty animal.
Could be.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot
they
of
obviously
people
thought
losing
that freaking C-3PO was a tasty animal for them to eat initially, so I don't think they're the smartest things out there.
Well, I don't think they're any less high functioning than a Jawa. I think a Jawa and an Ewok are probably on the same level, except they didn't have the technology to start. So Jawas have been building on technology that they've been finding over
Already, yeah.
And then Ewoks just didn't have that
Basis.
plateau to start on and build off of. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm guessing,
I mean, they were limited to a forest moon on Endor, so good possibility.
As a character in the story, absolutely hated him.
You hated them?
Hated them. Too
I didn't
cuddly.
mind 'em.
They tried to
much.
make them too fun and too funny, and what they were going for was sympathetic. What they got was comic sideshow.
But I loved the comic side show and the Christmas special or whatever Star Wars did at the time.
That the Christmas special is a total different animal. But if you're saying you love the comic sideshow, we know where you stand on Jar Jar stinks.
No, I don't like Jar Jar at all.
But that's what Jar Jar was comic.
I know he was. It doesn't mean that I like him when it's way over the top. I don't think the Ewoks were way over the top.
Fuzzy teddy bears?
I don't think they were way over the top. No, it's not. No. I don't think so. All right, what about stormtroopers? You already mentioned their accuracy thing. You really think that an empire would keep them around if they were all that bad of a shot?
I'm going to say one word: Russia. I was waiting for that to come up.
Oh,
so a giant, let's say, not so nice nation with a very large military. Turns out that their military completely sucks. Can't hit anything.
a bunch of rebels can keep them off.
Yeah. I mean, it's
okay,
always
so-
hard to defeat a group on their home turf.
Always.
And especially when you start moving into straight guerrilla warfare. But I think if we're going to go ahead and look at that apples to apples, you could just toss stormtroopers in Russian uniforms, and I think you got it. I did read a couple of different things about people's theories about why stormtroopers are so bad. And if you look at how, in the end, they started stealing kids to turn them into troops, and the stormtroopers were better,
Okay.
I think it's because they were conscripting people into armies, like Russia. And
They didn't need to conscript them in armies. They mass-produced them. That's what the Clone Wars are all about.
after the clones.
Okay.
After the clones. I don't know why the clones were so... I mean, once Order 66... 66?
Yes.
Yeah, 66. Once Order 66, and it stripped their... I don't want to say cognitive functions. I want to say their personalities, their free will. I mean, it's conceivable that at that point that took something out of them. We're like, oh, I have to shoot that guy. Okay. Pew, pew. Versus as a clone trooper where they had free will-ish and a desire to help. I mean, if you watch the Clone Wars, you see where they were, we want to help these people. Things are bad for these people.
Right.
But once you flip them to the other side, does that instantaneous mindset change of we're on this side to now we're on this side where we used to have an ideal and now we are the antithesis of that ideal, does that make us want to shoot and hit?
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at Guido, and I can't believe I did that. But anyway,
My question is,
I just did it naturally too. I didn't even think about it. God, I hate myself. All right,
that's why I wondered why every stormtrooper's armor wasn't like Phasma's. I mean, the whole point of
the shiny silver
reflective. So a
laser would shoot up, bounce off of it.
Yeah, a blaster is supposed to be basically a plasma bolt,
Right.
so it's not exactly like a laser, but
It's
super
still
shiny
high
chrome
energy,
like that. Well,
yeah.
Super shiny chrome would still dissipate that better than. I mean, they
And
have
allow it
shiny
to
armor,
redirect it and bounce it better than
and
the plastics would,
yeah, I don't know
or
why.
ceramics.
I don't know why they chose that, but I mean, there's
cost.
some really good art. Cost was one of them. Cost was
I'm sure
really
cost
in
was one of them.
there. I mean, when you're busy building a Death Star,
Oh yeah, and then
mighty pricey.
yeah, and then you already mentioned that the one episode too about if it actually fired, how it probably liquefy everybody inside.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was another Kyle Hill one actually.
Thing,
That's
yeah.
where the information came from. I was getting a lot of shout out today.
He definitely is. No free shout out, so you know,
Throw some of that sponsorship money this way.
right? What about the viewing order of the Star Wars movies? That seems to be the biggest.
Now see, I am of the bend where you start at the beginning and you finish at the end. You don't start in the middle, go back and forth. So for me,
But I started in the middle.
and that's the problem, and it drives me nuts. When I decide that I'm going to watch Star Wars, I start at the Phantom Menace and I work my way through.
Ugh.
I know. It is brutally painful sometimes, but that's just the way I'm built.
I get it. I generally don't even rewatch those first 3 episodes for the most part when I feel like Star Wars. I just watch the 4, 5, and 6, and I watch them 4, 5, and 6.
They should be. I don't mind Revenge of the Sith. I like, and really I just like to watch Mace Windu die, because Pimp Jedi, I'm all right with that. I do have 2 purple lightsabers, but whatever. And apparently Mace Windu may be coming back.
He might be, yeah.
I like to see that fast transition where you can almost see Anakin make that unconscious decision where, screw it. And they start doing the dark circles under the eyes, and he gets more intense, and it just becomes a better character at that point.
Right.
And it's like in that last 2/3 of the movie, and then the final fight. That's one of my favorite final fights. Who played Obi-Wan? What was his name?
Ewan McGregor.
Ewan McGregor. Thank you. I think Ewan McGregor. I think Ewan McGregor does such a good job in that final fight. The emotion comes out of him really well. Of you were like my kid. You're my brother.
Right.
Don't make me do this. And Anakin's like, I'm like your bratty brother.
Yeah, so if I do watch the other ones, I usually do 1, then 3, then 4, 5, and 6. I almost never will watch 2.
Oh yeah, it's pretty horrible. I get why there's a love story in it, because it makes them more human, and it hopefully makes your girlfriend go to the movie
stuff,
with
right?
you. Gives you an excuse.
But
Come
a
on, maybe a
9-year-old
love
hitting
story.
on a 14-year-old, yeah, a little bit,
The
but
14-year-old hitting on the 9-year-old's a little creepier.
Right.
It's okay, Annie. Come
Right.
get a big old mom. Oh, geez. I had to take the. Did you kids do any Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts?
Yes.
So you
Yeah,
had
I've
to take
done the safety.
Now I can't stop
stuff.
seeing like, oh, that's grooming.
Wow.
Watch the movie and think grooming while you're watching it, and you're like,
No, please don't.
Wow, Amidala, that's
please
terrible.
don't, because that's just gonna ruin the movie even further for you. All right, we have that one. Let's see. Parsecs. What's the actual length of a parsec?
oh my god, I feel like I just took an SAT test. I don't know what the actual length of a parsec is. There is a determination of what the length of a parsec is.
Right.
And I have heard a absolutely fantastic reason why Han made the Kessel Run, and they did it in parsecs, not time.
Okay.
It was really good. I wish I could remember it verbatim. But basically, he had to cut distance off in order to shorten time, and no one else could figure out how to cut distance off because, again, space lanes, because of the mass shadows in their whatever hyperspace dimension number is.
All right, so you're saying that he found a way to short circuit the distance.
Yes. So it would be like saying, hey, I went from Buffalo to Niagara Falls in 30 miles. And he's like, 30 miles? I did it in 22. And you're like, well, how did you do that? Because a straight line is less than that. And he's
Right.
like, because I got the Millennium Falcon.
Interesting.
That's it's a good article.
It is a very good article. I would think that known space lanes would play into that, and the fact that he could brag about it because he created his own space lane and took the chance of running smack dab into this mass shadow.
And the majority of the times he's going to have that conversation is with other smugglers, other astrogators, and other people who are pilots.
Right.
So
They would know what they're talking about and how that distance actually matters. It's like going from Buffalo to, let's go to something more realistic in Tampa, and doing it instead of 23 hours like Google tells you it's supposed to take, you do it in 18.
Yeah.
You know,
It's good. That's good haul out to Tampa at 18. It's 14 just to get to Florida.
I know.
Oh, I've driven that too many times.
I've done it too. And I've done it in 18 somehow.
All right, I got a controversial one for you.
Ooh.
Are droid slaves?
So that goes into how artificially intelligent are they? Are they self-aware? Most of the droids, I would say, in Star Wars are slaves because they are self-aware.
Yeah, well, something like a gonk droid, the little box that keeps walking
Right.
around. I'm not sure about that, but when you got like a protocol droid, something like that, is it self-aware? Does it hit all the right buttons for self-aware?
That is something that would be debatable. I mean, that's where I would draw the line enough. Is it self-aware to know that its programming limits its function and limits its choices?
Well, I mean, if we look
And in which case, if it is limited and its choices are limited, then therefore they are slaves.
there you go. Our C-3PO is very cognizant of his mortality.
Yes, he is.
Self-preservation is a huge thing in intelligence.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem to have any goals or ambitions. But then again, neither does my 16-year-old. So, and I mean, technically, he's self-aware.
I would argue that C-3PO could be considered a slave. It says that he's a slave.
Well, and
when
then,
he's part of Jabba the Hutt's routine and stuff.
and the thing that kind of fell out of fashion that they don't mention anymore really is the restraining bolts.
Yes.
In order to keep them from going off and doing their own thing, they would put a restraining bolt on them.
Right.
I mean, that clearly is a slave collar.
It absolutely is.
So,
But that is a difficult subject for people to handle nowadays, I would say. So.
but it moves into my next one because
Oh.
I'm jumping the shark on that.
Ooh, what's your next one?
Why did Admiral Holdo feel the need to stay on the bridge instead of just have a droid pilot the Radisson to the Supremacy?
Well, let's say that
She's not force sensitive.
rebels, on a whole, treat AI the same way that you would treat a human being. Would you force another human being into that position, or would you, as the leader, take that position yourself?
And as a person whose job used to be fixing autopilots for aircraft, you're telling me that in a galaxy far, far away, a time long, long ago, they didn't have autopilot? She couldn't I watched MacGyver stick a stick to the gas pedal and tie it to the steering wheel 100 times. How'd that not work?
Well, he did it on a plane too, I think, at one point in time, and had the plane automatically fly off at one point in time. Little prop job. I think it was in his
concerns
first
me.
episode.
Let's see. First
Something like
episode
that
was
on
he
the
went
McGuire.
down. He went down the rapids in a coffin in the first episode. I think there was an airplane involved after that, though. I think you're right.
And I think yeah.
Oh, he strapped a belt to the stick in the seat. That's what.
That's what he did. I
You're
told
right.
you. He set it up to do it all on its own.
Nerds. But I think I don't see that I don't see that the rebellion really treated droids
Any better.
super better than, because I think it it's just a cultural bias at that point. And humanity as a whole is pretty racist in Star Wars.
Well, humanity as a whole is pretty racist here.
Yes, I guess xenophobic
so
would be better.
That goes back towards, the same thing is human beings are going to be human beings, and Star Wars did it a lot better than Star Trek. I'm with you that Star Trek tried to project we can be better than ourselves, and this is how we should be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Star Wars tells a better story because they don't take those things.
They don't edit out that we are just crappy.
Yeah, they just really don't.
Star Trek I think what Star Trek tried to do more was to take different alien races and show different cultures that we have now. So Klingons were obviously, well, now, I guess, more than back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Klingons are more xenophobic now. Klingons are more, I don't want to say holier than thou because, I guess, yeah, because Kahless is a god to them. So, yeah, I think that they're more of the xenophobe warrior redneck.
Right.
The Ferengi are clearly the classic stereotype of Jewish people. It is. I don't want to go with that, but that's clearly what they're trying to portray. The Cardassians are more of a Eastern Bloc, Middle Eastern kind of group, and that's not necessarily. I don't want to see this. I think they did it on purpose. They took those segments of humanity out and personified them and emboldened or biggened them to slap you in the face with and go, hey, we're trying to be subtle and we're trying not to be subtle all at the same time. I don't think it was something that was like, hey, let's be racist today. No, I think it was more of a, hey, this is there, this exists, and we're fighting ourselves as the Federation, humanity, against these other factions, these other pieces of our psyche, these other pieces of ourselves, and we're going to make it to the point where we literally slap you in the face with it so you see it. So you gotta exaggerate when you do things like that.
Okay, I get that somewhat. So,
so many jokes. Oh, so many jokes. Just for the public, the monitor just flashed. You may be having performance issues.
Oh God, I hope this doesn't affect my recording here on here. So that's beautiful. Yeah, and now it's pausing. I think my whole computer just paused. Absolutely everything froze.
Well, when you get the opportunity, you should open up that disk space remaining section down at the bottom.
Disk space remaining where?
Down underneath the time counter, next to actual rate.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yeah, open it up right there.
I can't see it here.
No, you gotta. Why did it go away? There it is. Oh, you got plenty of disk space remaining.
I absolutely have plenty of disk space remaining. So their disk space just said 252 hours. So it has nothing to do with that. It may have to do with the fact that
Give you temperature
or something else down here is affecting the performance of my computer. So you'll see a little bit of a lag onto there. Speaking about performance and anxiety, what do you think about Luke and Leia's love story?
I see both sides of this.
Yeah?
Dude has a feeling for a chick.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to say chick. And he's like, wow, I really have this strong feeling for her. But it's confused, A, because he's young.
Right.
He's only, 17 or something like that?
17, 18, somewhere
17?
around in there.
He isn't exactly, got a lot of experience with the ladies living in the desert.
In the middle of nowhere, only aunt and uncle there.
And I think, 2 other humans in the whole town? So he's confused. He doesn't know what that feeling is. It turns out it's a familial, hey, that's my sister. But he doesn't know how to process that because he's so young. On the other hand, dude, it's creepy. You're macking on your sister.
Still one of the largest debates. Did he know? Did he not know at that point in time?
Well,
I don't.
And the argument is people are like, well, he's got the Force. He knows who she is. He goes, no, he knows she has feelings for him and he has feelings for her, but they don't know what those feelings are. She should have known
Ahead of time?
because she knew who she was, kind of.
Right.
She had memories of her mom, although why Luke didn't is interesting, and why she did. I mean, she was as Force sensitive
Well,
as Luke.
Luke was supposedly taken from her mom at a younger age.
I thought
than
they
she
split at
was.
the same time. Is that not? I don't know. Is
I
that the way it went?
thought that was the way it went. That's the way I kind of remember the story being told, but I don't know for sure. I'm not like a big lore
Well, hold on.
person because he went with his uncle. I think at a longer age, she stayed with her mom.
Well, yeah, but
for a few
Amidala
more
died.
years.
Amidala died in childbirth, didn't she?
To who?
To Anakin and Leia, to the twins.
Oh, really? Then how did she know her mom?
Well, that's the thing, because she's Force sensitive. She had memories of the mom that she popped out of. Yeah, that's exactly right. Why does Luke not have it? Because Luke is
Force sensitive.
Force sensitive. But again, that falls into the thing. So Luke is not Force sensitive to feelings, obviously, because he doesn't remember his mom, where Leia is. So she should know. It was Leia's fault. Leia did it.
The woman is evil.
Oh,
I got it.
Evil in that metal bikini.
You may be referring to a picture I have on the wall back there.
Oh, actually, I didn't even see that. When you said that, I looked up. I looked at the Red Dead Redemption one. I'm like, what's he talking about? Oh, she's right there.
Yeah, in that bikini.
Oh, Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
If only you knew. I'm sure you knew. You may not have known about me, but I'm sure you knew.
Do you have anything else
I
for this
do.
debate? Because I was looking at it, I was like, that covered most of my debatable items.
Okay. 2 reasonably good ones. 3 reasonably good ones.
All right,
What's
good.
the time frame? Already
Well, we got plenty of time. No, we got a few minutes in
Okay.
there. Dead time.
What's the deal with Chewie not getting a medal?
Too tall.
Were they concerned that, much like the rest of my family, that the rope would just get caught in the chest hair? I mean, what's the deal?
That it may also be a cultural thing.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Isn't the sash that he wears a cultural thing?
It is, but if they wore something around their neck, maybe that would indicate something else. Because
Or maybe he is, and
Again-
it's just buried under the fur.
yeah, maybe.
I don't think these questions were asked properly.
I don't think so either. That's an interesting one that I haven't really had a chance to think of.
Oh my god, I got like 6 on here still.
All right, what do you got? Let's go.
Why did Vader not recognize C-3PO?
That is a great question. The coloring of the droid did change a little bit.
Well, he didn't have skin on him last time you saw him.
Right.
I mean, so that's one. But all protocol droids seem to have a different voice. I assume at some point in time you have to double up, though.
Yeah, I would think so.
You just go online and be like, all right, I'm going to download this color eyes and this voice set. I can see how that would happen. But I mean,
That's a great question. Vader's Force sensitive, so why didn't he just feel that he had already, much like feeling out for your lightsaber or something like that, he already knew it was there?
now, is it something like you have to touch it in recent times to get like your midichlorians on it?
I don't know. That's a great question. What else you got?
I got. Why didn't Obi-Wan recognize R2? If we're gonna go with that vein.
Yeah, but the R2 droids were all
mass-produced.
mass-produced, and they were very specific droids for specific function initially, and they expanded that range.
Other way around. Why did R2 not recognize Obi-Wan? Or did he? And he's just a smart little bastard. Didn't want to give it away.
Again, that's the same thing with R2 is limited programming, I believe, in R2.
Okay.
It's like, but I mean, these are all great freaking questions. But I would think it would be limited programming in R2. Like a lot of times you had to query R2 to get a response. If you didn't specifically ask him a question about it,
Oh, he's a
he
cagey
didn't.
little bastard.
He didn't.
I think he's a drinker.
Volunteer the information at all.
Because I mean, they clearly state that R2 had not had a memory wipe,
Right.
so he should have remembered all. But whatever. All right. Did Qui-Gon choose to die? the fight on Camino with Darth Maul, did he choose to die because he felt that Obi-Wan needed that push to make him great?
That is a good question.
Because Qui-Gon was smart. He was not nearly as good a fighter as Obi-Wan, according to canon.
Right.
So why did he choose to go in instead of having his Padawan or
Better fighter,
yeah,
go in.
who clearly would have done a better job? I mean, obviously.
Maybe because he would have felt Darth Maul would have killed him. Darth Maul would have killed him.
Well, I actually met him once.
Yeah.
I have a lightsaber signed by him.
Nice.
Totally different story. But yeah, try not to tangent. Try not to tangent. Resist
That's right.
the
You
tangent.
can tangent a little bit there.
Yeah, the kid and I went to Nickel City Con a couple years ago.
You actually did it at Nickel City Con?
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
believe that because Nickel City Con is not the best con.
The size of a
around.
nickel. It's very small.
It's really it's interesting. I thought about it, but they charge the same rate as it is to go to the Niagara Falls Con, which I'm going to next month.
Yeah, as I say, it's next month, 26th, I think, right? Something like that.
No, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I'm going on the
Really? Is it?
I
I
think.
didn't think it was that early.
Or 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm going on that Saturday.
Well, I'm taking the kid, so.
I'm gonna go up there on Saturday. Oh, I need my shirt by then. I gotta remind Maggie to get me sure.
Are you getting a Captain Tangent shirt?
I might see if I can get something like that. But no, one of her friends is making me a shirt, much like I have people that make me these shirts. So
We'll have to talk about that later.
All right.
I need a Captain Tangent shirt. My wife thinks it's hysterical. My wife doesn't think anything's funny. Very nice lady. It's not really to my sense of humor. Let's see. The next part, the subsection of that was, did Qui-Gon choose to die? Should he have let Obi-Wan fight alone? Where was that other one? Oh, okay. Probably the most important one. Who the hell was the actual chosen one? Was it Obi-Wan? Was it Qui-Gon? Anakin? Luke? Or Rey?
ooh. Does the chosen one change based off of the time period they are in?
I don't know. I mean, it's only a 40-year span. So, so was it Qui-Gon because he started the whole thing? He was like, "Hey, you can't train him." The hell I won't. Was that the choice? Was that the chosen one? Was the chosen one needed because he brought balance to the Force by creating a dark nemesis, which would then force the light side to create a good guy? I know. Deep, isn't it?
It is very deep. I would have to say Luke would end up being the chosen one then. If we're gonna go that route, I think Luke ended up being the chosen one because of the choices ahead of time. He was the one chosen to bring balance to the Force.
Okay.
He was the one chosen to be the light side, to be the.
I think Luke is a gray Jedi. I think he should have had a yellow lightsaber, and I think he should have been a gray Jedi because he could see both the necessity of the dark side in order to power the light side,
You're right.
and he see the necessity of the light side to counteract the evil of the dark side. I think he should have been a consular. I think he should have had a yellow saber, and I think he should have been a gray Jedi. But again, nerd. All right.
All right.
I
One more.
I got one last one,
All right.
and this one's gonna hurt.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna hurt. Why'd they call it the end of the Skywalker saga there, and then Rey take the last name of Skywalker? Should she have taken the last name of Skywalker, and are we just being milked for money by Disney?
I think you're being
that's a
milked
yes,
for
that's
money
obvious.
by Disney, obviously.
That answer is always yes.
Again, I think because Luke was the chosen one, and then ended up Luke's timeline, even though Rey took over from there, it's not the same thing. Rey, I think, is more of a middle, not like the great light character that they made Luke into.
So
His final light act was saving Rey and keeping the thing there so that we can rebalance the Force yet again in the future.
do you think they're going to go and change the word Jedi, or make Jedi and Skywalker interchangeable? So she is Rey the Skywalker kind of thing?
I think that would actually not be a bad choice. I really don't think that would be a bad choice by anybody who's writing Star Wars. I think that would be
Well,
a good way
so
to
Jedi
go.
is a legal recognized religion in many countries at this point. Like, literally. How pissed would they be? Wait. So do we have to change our name from Jedi to Skywalker? Do we all have to be Skywalkers?
No, I get that. And again, that would be allow them to get away from that religion and that kind of stuff as well. But even then, I mean, being a Jedi was a religion to,
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what it started out as, really.
yeah, Star Wars thing on there. And we're not sponsored by Pepsi as much as he wants to keep showing his Pepsi
It's the
bottle
back.
on there.
I made
No,
sure
you
that
had it in there a couple of times. It sat on there and everything else. I don't care.
But if Pepsi would like to,
Oh, please do.
hit up Tony.
Yes, I will share with him. Don't worry about it. He's my main guest, my main guy. He's my.
I do this
been
just so I
back
can
up.
tangent.
And we have a great conversation every time he's on, so I enjoy it. All right, guys, we are going to wrap up today. Thank you guys again for listening. You can like, share, and follow me on Facebook. I'm really good on the Facebook. Twitter is seen some couple of dead birds going on. I will try to hit up Twitter more often. I am going to make that a priority of me for this month.
You know, it took me a second. Dead birds. Twitter.
Yeah.
Again, it's a good thing I'm pretty.
And even though I have an Instagram account, I have no idea what I'm doing with it. Old guy, Instagram, it's not working out right now. Somebody wants to become on and be like, help me with that kind of stuff. I'm more than willing to accept the help as well. So let me know, like, share, comment, particularly comment, so that I know what kind of shows you guys want to hear about. I'm still super excited to do the next Star Wars show with my other guest. Hopefully we can get her on soon. And I have a couple other guests lined up, so listen in, tune in. Thank you guys. Bye.